hello. Today we are talking about series that I think are greater than the sum of their parts. What do I mean by that? I mean that if I were to look at the ratings that I have given so far in a series or for the series as a whole, there may not be consistently like 4, 4.5, 5 for every single book. Like I may not be giving them that star rating, but I think when you look at the series as a whole, it is greater than any one of those individual books. That basically the overall story that's being told is more compelling than any one of the installments in the series. And some of these I have actually given pretty high ratings to all of the books in the series, but then when I look back on it, I think, no, like even, I like it even more than the rating for any one of the books might suggest. So we're just gonna run through these pretty quickly, but I have about 10 series here that I wanted to mention. So first, the ongoing series of Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takada. This is a fantasy, like it kind of reads a little bit like urban fantasy, but really like high military fantasy. It is a graphic novel and it has some of my favorite art in a graphic novel ever. This does a lot of purposeful disorientation in a way that I think is very masterful. And while I don't think I've given any one of the installments of this series more than a 4-star, as a whole, I would call this like a 5-star, like one of my all-time favorite series, because I think it's doing really interesting things with gender, with its military sci-fi, so like what war means kind of a thing, what the nature of good and bad, right, wrong is. Like I think that this deals with a lot of grimdark themes very powerfully. And yeah, overall, even though any one book or bind up of this has not gotten more than a 4-star for me, I would give the series as a whole a hearty 5 stars. Then basically most series from Ruby Dixon I would put in this category. So this is the Rizdaverse, and then I would certainly and probably even more so put Ice Planet Barbarians and Ice Home into this category, where actually the majority of these installments get maximally 4 stars. I think I have a couple that have gotten a 4.5, and I don't know if any of them has ever gotten a 5-star. But as a whole, these are some of my favorite series that I've read ever because they're so bingeable and they do what they are trying to do so well. They are excellent versions of sci-fi romance that are very campy, erotic, and manage to actually go into deeper themes when they choose to do that. So I think that the world setup for the extended Ruby Dixon verse is very fun and interesting. I enjoy continuing to see her start new series in this world. And yeah, basically, I just think that these series are even better than any individual book, which it's not unusual for me to give them a 3 or 3.5 star. Then I would say the Wayward Children series from Shauna McGuire definitely falls in this category because there are definitely books that I like better than others. There's some that I think are excellent, like this first one, Every Heart a Doorway, but I find the individual books a little bit more hit or miss. But when I think about that series in totality, it's just such an interesting and compelling world that I enjoy going back to every year. So even if an individual book is not my favorite in the series, it's one that I really look forward to returning to. It's one that as a whole I think of as a favorite, maybe not like an all-time favorite, but like a 4.5 kind of favorite. And yeah, I just think as a whole, when you think about where the series goes, the amount of ground it's covered, the number of worlds we've seen, I think it's a really compelling series that kind of sums up to more than any one of the books. Then one of my all-time favorite series is the In Death series from J.D. Robb. I am holding the only book in that series that I have ever given a 5-star to. I've given a few more 4.5s, but in this 52 book series, I give a lot of 3.5 and 4 stars, but this is unquestionably a 5-star series for me. I've made like a gigantic review video of this. You guys know I love Nora Roberts in general, but I particularly love her writing under the name J.D. Robb because I just absolutely love the series. I love Evan Rourke. I love all of the interpersonal dynamics between the different characters. I'm a sucker for a police procedural. I know that's not for everyone, but I like them, and I think that these are usually pretty fun versions of that. Just all around, these are so good. Then another high fantasy trilogy that I gave 2 4 stars and 1 4.5 star to, but as a whole, I would consider The Poppy Wars by R.F. Kuang to be a 5-star trilogy for me. It's one of my all-time favorite trilogies because the macro plot across those 3 books I think is so compelling. I think that she grew as a writer book over book, which is really cool to see. This is just some like really heavy stuff that she just makes makes so readable. I think that if you are like me and you read this series primarily for Ren in particular, you're going to love this series. Like, I was very invested in the characters because I knew who her character was inspired by. I kind of had an idea of where the plot was going. So I think where some people didn't like where the plot was going, I kind of knew that was coming. So maybe I just had like time to resign myself to it. And I actually quite liked sort of like where she took that to. Yeah, just all in all, this trilogy destroyed me, but in the best possible way. Then another romance fantasy series, and that is the Deadland. Oh wait, that's what it's called. The Deadland fantasy romance series from Katie Wilde. I really enjoy these whenever they come out. She's taken a pause the last year or so on this series, but whenever we have new entries, I think we continue to learn new and interesting things about the world. I think that this is a situation where this does a really nice job of giving you enough world building and enough macro plot to make it interesting for those of us who like fantasy, but it is as much a romance as it is a fantasy, probably slightly even more a romance than a fantasy. So I think that she does a really nice job of giving enough world building to make these plots very interesting without ever drowning the romance out. So while any one of them, like, I think this is probably a 4.5 for me, and the others are also probably like 3.5 or 4, but I think overall this is like a 4.5 star kind of series because for what it is, I think it's like one of the best versions of that around. Yeah, I would say only Grace Draven would I put above Katie Wilde in terms of what I like in fantasy romance. So I had to put that on the list. Then the Red Sister, or the Book of the Ancestor trilogy, sorry. I think that, I picked Grey Sister because this is definitely my favorite in the series, and I gave this 5 stars. I gave the other 2 4 stars, and overall I would consider this to be probably a 4.5 or 5 star series because I just really liked where this particular high fantasy trilogy went. I liked how it played with, is it just fantasy or is it also like got some kind of like sci-fi-y type elements to it. I really love the character development. Overall, the macro plot of this definitely makes this stronger than any one of the individual books, even though I personally really did enjoy each of the individual books a lot. And then we're coming into 3 of my all-time favorite books, and they're part of 3 of my all-time favorite series. So first of all, Murderbot by Martha Wells, okay? This first one is definitely the best in the series, in my opinion. This is All Systems Red, and none of the subsequent entries has been as good in terms of like on a technical level. I don't think any of the subsequent entries in the Murderbot Diaries series has been as good as the first one. That being said, if like this is a series you read because you love Murderbot. Like, this is a very character-driven sci-fi series, and I love Murderbot, and so yes, any one of the other books is not as good as this first one, but I just love Murderbot so much that as a whole, I think that the enjoyment that I have from any one of the books is magnified even beyond what I might technically rate that book. So even if I give a given entry a 3.5 or a 4 star, my love and just pure delight in the character of Murderbot makes it feel more like a 5 star. So I think as a whole, my enjoyment of this series is far in abundance beyond just even what I rate any one of the books. Then I have to say the Psy-Changeling series because I'm doing a podcast on it right now. Obviously, I love this series, and I think some of the entries are a little weaker than others, but even a weak entry in the Psy-Changeling series, I find far more enjoyable than most other things I've ever read. So even if for the Psy-Changeling series, it's a 4 star, if I were comparing that to a different sci-fi type book, I would like the Psy-Changeling book better, probably. So I just think I have several 5-star entries in the series. I have several 4.5-star entries in the series, and plenty of 4-star books, but there are a few that I would give like 3 or 3.5 stars to. But even if it's an individual book that I don't think is like the strongest in the series, it honestly doesn't matter because I just love the series so much it's kind of just stupid. So I think this one definitely, it is an all-time favorite series, and I love all the books even if it doesn't necessarily reflect that in the individual ratings. And very similarly, I think maybe I've landed on this as my all-time favorite series. I forget where I ranked it. It's like my second or first favorite series ever. The Kate Daniels series, I actually only have this book. This is the only book in the series, I think, that I gave a full 5 stars to. I did have a couple others I gave 4.5 stars to, but it doesn't matter because the overall story of Kate Daniels, which is an urban fantasy romance kind of series, the overall story story I can't even describe how exponentially I love the series as a whole beyond what I think about any one of the books. And that's that on that. So those are some series that I think are greater than the sum of their parts. Hopefully that concept made sense. I just think that these are series that even if you were to look at the individual ratings, my estimation of those series is beyond what is even reflected on paper. So let me know if you have any series that you think are greater than the sum of its parts in terms of your enjoyment of an individual book versus the macro world or plot of that series. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, along with a link to the glasses that I'm wearing if you are interested in checking those out. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!